Hello everyone. In today's meeting, we will check how to configure backend autoscaling on the AWS. So to start with, we'll go to AWS Marketplace. We'll select the Netscaler. Then we'll select which region I want it. I want it to be in North California, and I'll be testing with high availability setup. I'll click on continue. Then I'll click launch with CloudFormation console. Now for backend autoscaling, the market template will be uploaded very soon. So right now I have it on my desktop. So I'll just select it, open. I'll click on next. So the idea of using this template is that we don't want much of the manual configuration. We want all the Netscaler setup should come up automatically. The high availability should set up, and it should be like a full Netscaler with all the networking things. So as you can see, once I come to this template, it asks me the name. I just give man backend autoscaling. Then it's asking, do I need to have HA? I'll say yes. I need my configuration to be in the high availability. I'll select my VPC where I want to create it. Do I need SSH? Yes, I need that for this demo. I'll select my key pair. Then what IPs the Netscaler should get? I can either give the manual IPs, or I can just define what subnet they should be. So right now I have given 21.0.1.0 subnet. So all the IPs will automatically be picked up, any random IP. Then what should be my client subnet? I'll just pick one of my client subnet from this. So 2.0 will be my client facing subnet. And then what should be my backend server? I'll select 3.0 subnet. One thing we have to make sure that my backend subnet should be able to contact my backend server. So mostly it will be the subnet IP of Netscaler. Then instance type is m4.xlast, tenancies default. I'll click on next. So you can see I came to the next page where it's giving me all the summary, and I acknowledge that CloudFormation might create IAM resources. So we need IAM resources to access the SQS and SNS. I'll just click on create. I'll refresh this, and you see the creation has started. And in the event I can see what is happening. Like right now I'm getting an elastic IP for my Netscaler secondary. Then I'm configuring my security group based on the ports which are required. I'll keep it refreshing and I'll see something happening, like what and all is happening. So secondary, the public IP has been associated. Then the IAM role is being created. This IAM role is required because the backend autoscaling need to know what event the scale up and scale down will happen. So it needs some special permission. So while this is in progress, I'll just show you how the flow will be. So as you can see in this diagram, I'll be in the right side, I'll be having one Autoscale group, which will have some of the instances I'll be using for my backend autoscaling, which need to be load balanced. So what happens is after you create all the configuration on your Netscaler, which we call cloud profile, what exactly happens is Netscaler will automatically create a load balanced server, and then it will create a service group, which will be the name of the Autoscale group. And then whatever instances we have in the Autoscale group will be automatically added to the service group. So what happens when you have very high load? During that time, Autoscalegroup detects that there is a high load. So it triggers a Amazon CloudWatch monitor, which will actually find out there is a high load in the network or high CPU. Then it sends a message to the SNS. So SNS will basically tell us a notification that yes, an event has happened, and this will be pushed to the Amazon SQS queue. So this queue will be having all the details whenever an instance adds up to the Autoscalegroup, and this will be read by the Netscaler. And Netscaler will identify, okay, there is a new server added, and it will add that server in the service group. Similarly, during the case of the scale down, same thing happens. But during this time, we have one extra option called Graceful Termination. So during that time, what happened? Netscaler don't delete the server immediately, but it will wait for some time, and then after that time it will just send a message to delete that server. So I'll explain that in the further slide. So let me just see if my this thing has created. I'll just click on refresh. Okay, and right now, as you can see, I don't have any SQS queue and also no SNS queue. So basically the concept of this all backend auto scaling is that we want minimum manual configuration. So in my setup, I have some auto scale group. I'll just show you in the meantime. So as you can see, I have 3 auto scale group on my AWS account, Exchange over and SharePoint. In Exchange, I have few servers. As you can see, I have 4 servers already present in the Autoscale group, and this server listen on HTTP port 80. And here I can define what is the minimum or maximum I want. So right now I have 4 instances running. I can say go max up to 7 instances in this Autoscale group. So these are my actual backend servers. So what happens, Netscaler automatically detects that I have an Autoscale group, how many servers are there, it will add them, and also it will automatically create the SQS and SNS queue, and then the traffic will be load balanced. So overall, we don't have to do anything. It will be just done all by the CloudFormation template. Okay, so as you can see, the create is complete. So now if I go to my instances, I should see 2 Netscaler instances which are created. Let me see. So I can see Netscaler secondary and Netscaler primary. I'll just filter it. Okay. So these are the one created. While it's coming up, I'll just show you that as you can see, my primary Netscaler automatically got 3 interfaces, Ethernet 0, 1, 2, and as per my configuration in the CloudFormation, 1.0 subnet is assigned to the management and I got a 1.5 IP. Similarly, for my LB VIP or client facing subnet, I got a 2 dot subnet and 1 IP. And for my backend, I got 3.111, 3 dot subnet. So that is first thing. The second one is I have my security group created with all the required rules which are required for now. And then the special thing here is the IAM role. This role will be the one responsible for creating the SQS and SNS. I'll just go here to show you what policy is required. So this is the one which got created, and I'll just show you the policy. So as you can see, following action has been assigned to it. One is describe instances to see instance properties. Second is network interface, detach network interface, and attach. These three are required for the high availability to work. Then for auto scaling, I have given full access and SNS and SQS for the pushing of messages, by which we understand whether the scale up happen or scale down happen. So I'll just go back. Let's see if the instance came up. Okay, 2 by 2 check password, sorry. So what I'll do, I'll just log into this instance. Password will be my instance ID by default. One thing you have to always make sure that the password will be the instance ID. And for backend autoscaling to work, we don't have to change this because it requires some permission to talk to SQS and SNS using the password. So it's recommended that you should not change the password. Let it be the instance ID always. In future, we'll be fixing this and changing the logic, but at present, this is the design. And on the other tab, I'll just open my secondary box. And the password of my secondary will be synced, so it will be the primary password. So you can see that the HA is created. I'm connecting. I'll just show you here. So HA node. And as you can see, once the instance came up, automatically the HA has been created. So this is my primary IP 2101.5. Node state is primary. It has three interface. Sync state is enabled. And on the secondary also you can see 2101.54, which is my secondary instance. 2101.54 got added automatically. So this is the all advantage of using this. You don't have to even create HA or do any manual configuration. Everything is automatic. Similarly, I go to the secondary node and you can see the HA is created here. Also, the AMI will come up with the predefined value, like if I do show NS IP, you can see even the subnet IP is automatically detected and created. So this one was the subnet ID, Ethernet 3, 2103.111 will be the interface and the IP used for my subnet. So you can see it was automatically picked up and even the snip has been created. Range scale is the process which takes care of scale up and scale down. So that's what, this is the key thing you have to always check whether the range scale is working or not. So now I'll just show you how the GUI look and how the configuration will be done. I'll just add two more instances here of the primary box to just show you. So I'll be logging into the primary instance, password instance ID. So whenever the first time I will log in, what happens, this Netscaler automatically detects what is the LB IP I can be used and what are my Autoscale group. So the moment you log in, the ease of convenience is you see the cloud profile page for the first time login. So as you can see, this is the name. So I can give you any name. Let me call it Backend Autoscaling. This will be my cloud profile. Now what IPs I can use will be defined here. Let's say I want to use multiple IPs, then I can anytime come here. I can select this instance and I can manage IP address and I can assign some IP address to my interface, which I can be used for load balancer when I need to use multiple load balance. I have to just click assign new IP like this, and whatever IPs I get, I'll get here. After that, it takes some 2 to 3 minutes to reflect for the Netscaler to detect that. So right now you see for my Ethernet 2, the IP I have is 2102.146 for my client facing subnet, and this IP automatically got detected. Now I want a load balancer which should be of type 80, and you can see all three of my Autoscale group are coming here. So this also has been auto detected. So I'll just select my exchange group, the HTTP 80. And the key thing here is this graceful timeout. So I'll tell you what happens once I select it or if I don't. So let's say I don't select it. Then what happens? Creation of server and addition of server is fine. But let's say the load is stabilized. During that time, when the servers are deleted, Netscaler will automatically delete them the moment the load is stabilized. That means the event occurred when there is no load. So due to this, what problem you can face? Let's say your client are connecting to the load balancer and are connected to some backend servers. So if those servers are deleted, then you will lose your traffic which are already connected. So to avoid that, we can select this option called Graceful and we can give a time that we are telling Netscaler that don't delete it immediately but wait for this much time. So let me make it 70 seconds for now so that Netscaler deletes them after 70 seconds. So here I'll show you what happens when I create it. I'll just go to this, I'll go to log, ns.log, pipe trap name. And here, the scaling log you can always check in scale.log. So this will be my scale log. Right now I'll do show LB server. LB. So now I'm going to create it so you can see what happens. So I'll just create this. So you can see one cloud profile is created using that. And here I'll just do this. Now scale one. Now for this it will take some time. So here I'll just tell you what exactly is happening in case of CLI. So you can see add cloud profile, the name I gave Backend Autoscaling, and it created a load balancer with this name and the IP address I gave. Then my exchange, which was the Autoscale group, and the IP I have defined. So this is adding a cloud profile and I'm getting a message as cloud profile added. So anytime for CLI purpose, you can check this. These commands run normally like add cloud profile, show cloud profile, show cloud IPs. These are the command you can do. But normally we recommend GUI as that's very easy for this feature. So I'll just go to the load balancer. So you can see I have my load balancer automatically created. Now if I go to my service group, this is my service group with the name Exchange got created. And you can see I had 4 instances in my Autoscale group. So if I take you to my Autoscale group, following are the 4 instances I have. So you can see I have instances 3.32, 3.170, 3.121 and 3.237. All these instances automatically got added to my service group. You can see 3.32. So that's a very good example of this auto scaling where you can see that you don't even have to add servers. Netscaler auto detects what servers you have and adds them for the load balancing of the traffic. And just to test, I'll just assign one elastic IP, my 2102.29, so I can access it. So just assign it elastic IP. So elastic IP is nothing but the public IP I want to access it. I'll select my network ID and I'll select my LB web and I'll associate it. So now this IP is associated to my LB web for the NATing. So I'll copy it. I'll just access it. And as you can see, it's live. And coming to my LB server. So here you can see that all the traffic is going to this LB server. I have a script which is continuously running traffic to this IP. So you can see that it's automatically load balancing all the traffic between this. And you can even see the state which is up and running. So it's just like a normal load balancer, but the feature of auto scaling and auto detecting the server. Now I'll show you how to do the auto scaling, like scale in and scale down. So first of all, let me see if my SNS got created. Yes, I can see it. It got created. And also in the SPS, yes. So you can see even my SQS and SNS are also automatically created by the Netscaler. Okay. My bad, I was running this command on the secondary, that's why I didn't get anything. I'll show you what we normally see in the range scale. So I'll do cat because the main of the things are already done. Scale.log more. So here you can see that the moment range scale started, it automatically found out that I don't have any space queue. It automatically created the queue with this topic. And after creating the queue, let me go down. See, it automatically detected that I don't have a scale down policy. I'll talk about that. And then it added all those instances to my service code. So that's why I'm saying you have to, for this feature to work, range scale is the process. Anytime this feature not working, make sure that range scale is running. This process should be running. So now coming to the scaling up and scaling down, I'll just go to my Autoscale group. So right now I have 4 server, 7 max. So these are my scaling policies. I'll just delete them, show you what exactly we do. Okay. So first of all, I want a policy which says when to scale up. So I'll say scale up. I'll create a new alarm. I'll not send any notification, and let's create for CPU. I say whenever the CPU is greater than 70%, for at least for 5 minutes, 5 is the minimum. So this is the trigger for the alarm, and I'll give it a name, high CPU 70. I'll create this alarm, and I'll say whenever this event happen, what to do. I'll say add one instance, and I'll click on create. Okay. Now I'll add another policy which will be scale down, and I'll create alarm. For this alarm, since I don't want my Autoscale group to take care of this. Let's say I want that my Netscaler should define when to delete the server. So here I'll have to send a notification to Netscaler. So I'll send a notification to the SQS queue I have, the SNS and SQS, and I'll say whenever my traffic is less than 20% for at least 5 minutes, I'll give this a low CPU 20 with alarm. And here I'll tell you that it depends on you. Maybe sometimes you want not Netscaler to control the behavior, you want your Autoscale group to just delete the instance. You'll select here remove and you'll say one instance. In this case, Netscaler will not play any role, but the Autoscale group will be the one who will be deleting the server, and your traffic can get affected in this. But in case you have selected Graceful, then you want Netscaler to delete it. So that time you'll just say 0, that I don't want you to control it, but I want my Netscaler to control it. And I'll create a policy. So this policy I have created for low CPU. One thing I want to show you, whenever this event happen, you can see Netscaler will detect it. So I'll just show you. Okay, as you can see, I got a policy here. So anyway, I'll just show you how this works. I'll remove this one. So right now, I have created my scaling policies as well. So let's just wait for some time, because once I created that scaling policy, an event happened, and then this actually went to 3, because the moment I created this policy, the scale down policy, it actually got to know that my CPU less than 20. So that's why it's just deleting an instance. So let it just get deleted. Right now we can see that in my auto scaling group, right now I have 3 instances, and even on Netscaler I'm having the 3 servers, among which the load is being driven. So now let's say my CPU goes above 70%. So let me pick up the instance. Let me pick up this instance exchange with this one. This is one of my backend server. So I have done the RDP to this one. So right now the CPU of this machine is 0%. So what I'll do, this is a script to just create the high CPU. So I'll do it for 300 seconds. Right now time is 3:44 p.m. I'll just start it. So you can see that a high CPU happened. My CPU of this instance reached to the 100%. So now when autoscale event should happen by the CloudWatch monitor, which will be monitoring this instance continuously, that my CPU is going high. Once that will happen, then my autoscale policy will trigger in. So we'll just wait for 5 minutes for this to happen because our timeout is 5 minutes. I'm seeing some graph going up on the percentage. Let's see if any trigger has happened. CPU still 100%. We go to my Autoscale group. Still waiting. Okay, so now in progress. Okay, PACD. Okay, so due to the high CPU, I can see the instance has been created. Now let me see what happens in the range scale. So as you can see, the moment the new server got added, it automatically detected that a new server is being added, and it find out that IP, that this is, we are adding this to the exchange one. My session is disconnected. Just log in again. Okay, so right now it has 3 servers. It will auto detect that there is one extra server in this one. Okay, so as you can see, it had 3 servers, and now it twice added the new server to this scope, and now you can see I have the 4 server. Now this is the new server which is being created. Once the server is up, I should see that server coming alive and the status shows up. I should see one exchange which is just launching. Okay, launching. Okay, so you can see, okay, my CPU was high for long enough. I see I have 2 instances which are being launched. What I'll do, I'll just kill this process so that we can see scale down also. I'll just end this process, and it CPU is back to 0. So that should be fine. Because that again takes 5 minutes. So let's see what happens in the range scale log. So as you can see that the new instance, whenever it gets added, adding this to the exchange. That's why this one was added. What happens when it goes out of service? So what happens is, as you can see here, that when the event happened, that after 5 minutes, the autoscale group detected that the server is not, the load is not high, it's less than 20. You see that I received a message which says that we have received the threshold which is less than 20% for this. And then what Netscaler did is, it automatically started a process, and since I have defined the time as 70 seconds, so it has disabled this server and taking a 70 second of time. And that's why here I can see that server status going out of service. Now the 70 seconds are passed. You can see it started at 16:02, now it's 16:04:03. So almost after 70 seconds, Netscaler found out that drain time has been expired, and then drain is complete, so I'm removing this server. So I have just removed this server, deleting server BACD. So now if I do this, I should only see 3 servers. So you can see only 3 servers are there. And you can see one more is going out of service because my load is less than that. So you can see this is the message Netscaler sent to terminate the instance for the previous one, and this one is again is training for 70. So here if I do a start one, you will see that this server is going out of service and the other one is serving the load. So let's wait for 70 seconds for this one to get terminated. Let's see how many servers I have right now in my Autoscale group. So right now I have 3. So it's all happening, the training is only because I have low CPU policy, which says whenever it's less than 20, don't do anything, just send a notification to Netscaler. Netscaler is able to find out using this that the scale down has happened, it receives an event, it waits for the time and terminates. So now you can see it started the draining for this server is this, and it is removing it. So it has deleted this server. Now it will send a terminate request. So right now the activity history, terminating is in progress. So once that is done, I will receive a termination for this server which starts with FAF. So now as you can see, I received a terminate instance. So this request basically Netscaler sent to the Autoscale group saying just terminate this connection. Now if I'll go, I only have 2 servers, rest all is deleted. So this is the whole concept of the Netscaler backend autoscaling, where based on our scale policy, a new server gets added automatically and the load being load balanced, and whenever the load is down, the other server uh, will be deleted by the Netscaler based on the graceful time. Also, I'll just show you the HA one, that it works fine in HA also. So again, I'll just show you that this is the secondary node. So what I'll do, I'll come here. Right now you can see I have 2 servers. I'll come here and I'll do a force HA failover command. Yes. Now I'll just do a duplicate here. So this is there. But right now since it's secondary, so it's not serving any traffic. Let's see if it became primary. So in the ns.log, I'm seeing the interface detach and attach happen. Get HA config. Let me kill this. So how to identify that a detach and this thing happen, the interfaces? So here in the ns.log, you'll see properly that all this detach is happening. And now you can see the detach is happened. And the keyword to identify if the detach is happening is this one. IOCTL plug should be success with output 0. So that means this has become the primary. I'll just do show HA node. So other one got rebooted and this is the primary. You can see it has 3 interfaces. Now if I'll see, I should see the traffic running. So now you see it has the traffic running always. So this is how a basic failover works and how we can say the backend autoscaling work even with HA. The connection just gets transferred. So now this instance will be down. I'll just log into the Netscaler HA of the other device. So this device is the new primary now and this has the cloud profile. So anytime if you want to create a new cloud profile, you can come to this cloud profile, you can click on add and it will automatically detect your autoscale group and everything. You can just give a name and you can create the cloud profile as required. Just to delete the cloud profile, you just click on this, you'll click and you'll say delete. Okay. So this file passing will come. That is some GUI issue. Let's see if cloud profile got deleted. Okay. And type. Yeah, no cloud profile is present. So also if I go to my traffic management, I should not have the LBV server. So you can see it has deleted the service group and everything. So that's the main thing, how the cloud profile, or we can say the backend autoscaling works with HA. And the key feature here is the cloud formation template, which takes care of everything. So that's it from my side. Thank you and have a nice day.